You can play Fortnite in school? How cool is that? No, you don't. No, you don't. Promise you don't. So, all right. So that's okay. So I'm gonna get like 17 text messages and 100 emails while we're here talking. Okay. So I'm not gonna answer any of those as long as you guys don't do the same. Is that cool? Good. All right. All right. Sorry about that. I knew I'd miss someone. So my name's Tom Wistrcill, as Mr. Frederick said. So. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. My son JT is a senior. He'll be graduating with, looks like most of you, from what I can tell here this year. So he's at the driver's license station right now. He's turned 18 and he forgot to get his license. He's been driving around with like an expired license for like 2 weeks. So if you see him, bust him on, see if he got caught. So he's waiting in line. He's been there for like an hour and 10 minutes waiting in line at the driver's license station getting that. So we're here to talk about sports. Obviously, everybody's interested in that. Yes? Okay, cool. How many of you kind of decided, like, I want to work in sports? That's the career I want. Anybody? Who's kind of decided that? Somebody? Yeah? Kind of don't know? That type of stuff? Okay, good. So hopefully we can explore some of those things today. I'm going to talk, obviously, primarily about college sports and the business around college sports. Most people think that when college sports is the game that happens on TV, the football game, the basketball game, the baseball game, whatever, that's college sports. And that is, in its purest form, there's so much behind it and around it that there are thousands and thousands of jobs, full-time jobs that are really good jobs, that are in the industry. So I want to expose you to some of those today, talk about kind of my path and how I got to where I am now, and then talk about Learfield and the billion-dollar business, as he said, which is true, of what we do and why. And then we'll take some questions after that. So I think I'm here for 45 minutes. Now it's 45 now until 10.
There's you got some run over time if you need it.
All right. So how about I'm gonna talk a little bit for like 30 minutes, and we'll do 15-minute like Q&A, and you guys can ask questions on that. And we'll go through some of the stuff on the website. So I have a fairly unique background. I was a Division III student athlete. I was a Division II conference commissioner, and I was a Division I athletic director. So I've kind of seen all different scope of college athletics. I played basketball in college at a small Division III school in Minnesota, and I went there because I went to watch the team play during the recruiting process, and they sucked. And I was like, I can start there as a freshman. And that is the #1 reason why I went there. I didn't want to sit on the bench and wait for somebody to graduate at the Division II level. I wasn't good enough for Division I. And so that's why I went to St. Mary's University in Monroe, Minnesota. Majored in communications. I thought I wanted to be a broadcaster. So when you flipped on SportsCenter, like you were going to see me, that was my undergrad degree, was in that. So I did a couple of internships at some TV stations and found out that wasn't what I wanted to do. I thought it wasn't very exciting, boring, and not very challenging. Okay, they're kind of paid actors. The one thing I would say is now, you watch SportsCenter, a lot of times they're like standing up, they're like talking, but back in the day, everybody just sat behind the desk. Everybody wears shorts. They have like a suit and tie up top and shorts on. Everybody, yeah, it is your kind of gig, absolutely. So, but I was like, how funny is that? I'm like watching the newscast and everybody gets up wearing shorts. I'm like, what? That can't be right. So anyway, I decided that wasn't for me. But I knew I wanted to work in sports. So I got a job in sales out of college and that, but I had to try to find a way in. And I did that through a friend of a friend. You'll see a common theme here about who you know and taking advantage of the people you know. Friend of a friend who worked at the University of Minnesota. Asked him about college athletics. He said, why don't you come down and be an intern and just volunteer and see what you think. So I went around the athletic department at the University of Minnesota for a while and fell in love with college sports. I like the passion. I love the excitement. I love being on campus. I love the educational part of college athletics. Yeah, there's lots of problems around college athletics, no doubt. But being on campus and being part of college athletics is really cool. So I found my passion there when I was about 24 years old. Found that I asked the guys, like, how do I get a job in this? He's like, well, you're probably going to need a master's degree. So I was like, okay, cool. So I started in grad school at St. Thomas University there in St. Paul, Minnesota. And while I was helping out at Minnesota and to make ends meet because I just got married, I sold copiers. So for about 18 months, I would like sell copiers from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. I'd have my internship from like 2:30 to 5, and then I went to night school. And those are the dues you pay at that point in your life if you want to try to do something. So I went and did that, got my master's degree, and then I needed to find a job. Okay, so University of Minnesota didn't have any jobs, So I started applying for jobs all over. I remember this moment. I was at a Kinko's. You guys remember Kinko's at FedEx now? So, and I went into the computer and I printed out the name and address of every president, okay, of every Division I university in the country. And I printed out a tab, a little sticker for an envelope, and then I printed up a letter to every single one of them, asking for a job in college athletics. Okay. How many return letters do you think I got? Anyone? Yes? Two. One. I got one back. Albany. SUNY Albany. State University, New York, Albany. That was the only letter I got back. I didn't get a letter back from the guy at Minnesota who I met before. He didn't remember me. You know, I was just 24 years old at the time. But anyway, so 26, I'm sorry. So I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. Luckily, my parents, my dad was coaching football at a Division II school in Minnesota. My mom was administrator of the school. Connect the dots. Their conference was looking for a commissioner, first ever full-time commissioner. So, and I got the job as the commissioner of the conference. So I kind of had it backwards here. A lot of people are commissioners late in their career. I started early. So did that in Minnesota for a little while. Moved to Colorado to run a much bigger conference in Colorado. Was there for 4 years and was at Division II, but I wanted to move up to Division I. My goal at that point was to be a Division I AD. So tried to find a job in Division I, couldn't do it, so I got out of the business. I got out of college athletics and went and ran a pro women's volleyball team in St. Louis, Missouri. How about that? It's a leap of faith, huh? So I moved to St. Louis, pro women's volleyball. I got there, the first day I got there, I realized, oh my God, this is gonna fail miserably. The business model's awful. We're paying these women way too much. They're all like 6'3" to 6'6". I was looking at that girl, she's actually playing at Minnesota now. I was on the volleyball team last year. And I was like, they all look like her. They were all like 6'3", 6'5", blonde, could jump out of the gym. Fun to watch, but the business model didn't work. So I had to find a different job. But I was in St. Louis through the friend of a friend, learned about a company called Learfield, headquartered in Jefferson City, Missouri at the time. And so I called up a guy and went over and met with their #2 guy at the time, and was trying to find, you know, stuff on the company. Okay, so this is rated the year 2001. And so the website didn't look quite like it does now. So, because we only had 12 schools at the time, instead of 140 like we do now. And so I met with our #2 guy to kind of learn more about the company, and he asked me where I was from, where I went to high school at, and I said I went to high school in Wisconsin, but I'd spent most of my growing up years in Iowa. And so he said, well, you know, we have 2 GM jobs open. These are the people that we put at each school to kind of run the property, at Iowa and Wisconsin. And so would you be interested in one or the other? So what would you choose? Who would choose Iowa? University of Iowa, Iowa City, Iowa. Anybody choose there? Anybody? No. You got to choose one of the 2. You need a job. You going to Iowa or Wisconsin? Or who's going to Iowa? Anybody? Got one? Everybody else is going to Wisconsin?
Madison.
Yeah? Good choice. Good choice. I went to Wisconsin too. And here's the reason why. Okay? In our job, the job at Learfield is we go out and we solicit corporate sponsors for all the universities, the ones we work with. So you think about it from a competitive standpoint. Okay? You want to be the only one selling that. You know? So does Iowa or Wisconsin, who has more competition in the marketplace?
Wisconsin.
Why? Why does Wisconsin have more competition? That's not a good answer, but so what do you say? More competition. So who's fighting for the dollars with Wisconsin?
Packers.
Yeah. Packers. Yeah. What about Iowa? Who's fighting Iowa for the dollars? Iowa State. Now you're heading down the right path. So here's the thing. Okay, so when you walk into a company, let's say you're in Des Moines, Iowa, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right? If I'm in Des Moines, I walk into a company, and then I want to talk to them about college athletics. Yes, Iowa State's there, Northern Iowa's there, Drake's there. The college sports dominate the state of Iowa. They have no major league sports, no NFL, no Major League Baseball. They have nothing. So it's all college sports. At Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin is the only Division I A, okay, the only one with a major football in the whole state. Okay, they have Marquette, UW Milwaukee, and that UW Green Bay. But those schools don't play football. So Wisconsin kind of dominates that state. Okay, so I knew from a sales perspective, that's where I wanted to be. So I went to Wisconsin. It was great, great place. Madison's an awesome college town if you ever get a chance to go. Other than in January, February, it's one of the best places on earth. Highly recommend it. Okay? Iowa City is a great college town too. just wasn't where I wanted to go. So I went to Wisconsin for 4 years as our GM. Okay, so at the time, I was GM number 13. We had 13 schools. So what we do at each campus is we go in, we have a sales staff. So I'm the GM, we have 5 sellers, and then we go sell all of the assets that the university has within athletics. So the university likes this model because then they don't have to sell it. We guarantee them the money. So we say to Wisconsin, we're gonna give you $8 million a year. We're gonna write you a check. Whether you win one game or the national title in every sport, you get $8 million guaranteed. And they go, oh sweet, we'll take that $8 million. And then we go in there with our staff of 6, and we go sell $12 million worth of inventory. And then we get to keep the $4 million gap. Make sense? That's the business model. Very simple, and now we do it at 130 schools around the country. So you can click on the, kind of what we do there, please, sir.
Yep.
There you go, collegiate relationships.
Yep.
Collegiate multimedia rights right there. I think that should bring up the map. All right, so that's all the schools around the country. There's a list of them down here. So, like, how many? So are we Texas Tech? Are we A&M in here? Are we UT? Who are we cheering for? A&M. So, what do we got?
No, just try to stay very
No,
far away.
no, you're far away. Getting away.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We don't have Arkansas. So, but I know your former football coach because we were at Wisconsin together. So, if you can scroll down here, let's click on A&M. Just it says Wells spoke up there. So there we go. All right. So we have a staff of 7. We have a staff of 7 in College Station. 5 in College Station. Actually, 2 of them are in Houston. That sell all of the entity that is Texas A&M Athletics. There we call it Texas A&M Ventures. Does that sound cool? Yeah. This is just a
Yeah, it does sound official.
just a made up name, yeah. And that. So if you went to a Texas A&M game at Kyle Field, I've been there. You guys been to a football game there? It's a cool experience. I'm not an A&M fan, but it's a cool experience. All of the signage that happens around the stadium, anything corporately related, let's say, Exxon Mobil has something, or they're putting a video up on the board sponsored by Pepsi, or something like that. All of those things run through our staff. We go sell every piece of inventory for that. So what we try to do is we have to capture everything so that the corporate sponsors can't find different ways into the venues. So basketball, same way, baseball, everything that happens. So you take that same model there. We also sell stuff on their website, Texas A&M website. We pull up, let's say, the baseball game they played last weekend. You want to watch the baseball game. You're going to click on it up as soon before the game starts. There's probably a 30-second ad that runs, or in between innings there's an ad. So our staff, we sell that too. So that's how the business works there. So I'm at Wisconsin and selling this, the Badgers. So there for 4 years. My goal was to be an athletic director, and a good friend of mine became the AD at the University of Minnesota. And so he was looking for a number 2 person, a deputy AD, to help run the university athletic department with him, and he hired me to go back to Minnesota, which was great, because I'd already been in Minnesota as an intern years before that. So I went to the University of Minnesota as a number 2 person, ran all our external stuff, tickets, media relations, all of that, oversaw a few sports, helped hire a football coach, basketball coach. Tubby Smith was our basketball coach at the time. It was great. I was there for almost 4 years. And then the athletic director job came open at Akron. And so we moved to Akron, Ohio. I became the AD there in 2009, and was there for 6 years. And a new president came in right near the end of my tenure there, and he wanted a clean house. He wanted a whole new group. And I was like, all right. So I guess I better find something new. So I started looking at a number of other Division I AD jobs. One I really wanted and didn't get. A couple that kind of wanted me, and we didn't really want to move there. My wife grew up in Northern California. One of them was kind of in Northern California, but she didn't want to move back there to Northern California. So then I started talking to our CEO at Learfield, who's a good friend of mine, Greg. And he said, hey, how about you come back down to our corporate office here in Plano and help run one of our regions. Thought about it, and so then we moved down here the summer of 15. So my son's been here with us 3 years then here at Lakeland, and I've got an 8th grader who will be a freshman here next year. So that's the path. So as you can see, there's a couple of common themes that I want you to remember. Number one, I mentioned the word friend a lot, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, I'd love to say it all comes down to your brains and good looks, but first of all, I'm not that good looking, and second of all, I'm not that smart. But I'm a very good networker, okay? I'm good at connecting the dots, and you have to realize when there's an opportunity to take it, okay? So, when I walked in this classroom about 25 minutes ago, what I heard him saying to you was, there are opportunities that you have that maybe you're not taking advantage of. So to me, what that shows is, you know, you need to take things a little more seriously about your future. Because no one's in control of your future except for you guys, okay? I knew that, I realized that, like I said, when I was about 24, you know, that's how old I was. And I really figured out, I was like, you know what, I just started grad school, busting my ass, 18 hours a day. I was like, you know what? And at the end of this, no one's going to be there just rolling out the red carpet saying, "Come on, Tom, I'd like to pay you $150,000 a year. You just sit around, play golf 3 times a week. It's going to be awesome." Guess what? That shit ain't happening. You know. So what does that mean? That was totally up to me. I had to connect the dots. I had to find that next job. I had to outwork people. I had to be there earlier than everybody else, so that when somebody picked up the phone and called someone and said, "Hey, tell me about this Wistrcill guy, what's he like?" What did I want them to say? Right? I wanted them to say, "Damn, that kid busts his ass. He's a hard worker, he's great to be around, people like him. I'd hire him if I had a job for sure." Right? Isn't that what you'd want someone to say about you? So you gotta figure out in your path how you get people to say that about you. Right? And it starts now. High school's over. Has everybody a senior in here? High school's over. This thing's done, right? I'm gonna see all you guys in caps and gowns in about 5 weeks, right? So guess what? Who's gonna be on your ass, you know, come middle of September to do something? No one, right? You're on your own. So it's up to you to figure it out. The people that have been most successful that I know, they do a little bit more than is asked of them all the time. They figure out a way to do a little bit more all the time. And it's easy when you've been where I've been, and whether I was an athletic director watching our student athletes, whether I was hiring coaches, hiring staff members, people I hire now, you know, it's pretty easy to figure out which ones go a little bit farther than the norm. You don't have to be that perceptive. You guys know that just because many of you in here are athletes. You know, you look around, you know, at football practice, you know who's busting their ass and who's like, just, I'm only gonna work hard with the coaches watching. You know those people. You know those people. There's a lot of them. You know the people that did that in open gym, right? I'm only gonna play hard when Coach Lee's in the gym. The rest of the time, man, screw this. You know. So guess where those people are gonna end up? Not where you want to end up, right? So that's something as you guys transition to the next steps in your life, you can figure out a way to do that. So when I looked at resumes, and so let's say we were hiring a marketing assistant at Akron, okay? So I look at a resume. Okay, we would get like 150 applicants for a $33,000 a year job. Everybody wanted to work in sports, right? Everybody wants that job. So it's competitive, it's really competitive. So when I look at those resumes, okay, we'd get a lot of the 3.9 GPA and this, you know, and so I could tell from their college experience, they spent all their time studying, they really focused on academics, and that's awesome, okay? Then I'd have another resume here that was a 3.3 GPA or 3.2, and the person had to work to put themselves through school, they did an internship in the athletic department, they volunteered this here and there, okay? You know which person I want to hire?
3.2.
Give me that 3.2 every time.
He
Okay.
put himself out there.
It's the person that works at it, okay? It's the person that did a little extra, you know? 3.9, that tells me you're smart, that's great, but I don't know if you can work with people. I don't know if you can solve problems. I don't know if you can communicate. I don't know if you can fight through adversity. You know, that's life. So I'll take that person that's done more. So as you go off to college, you think about you know, whether you wanna work in sports or whatever,